The Garden Awakens update has quite a few scary, juicy, and a pretty varied number of features, and today I'll be ranking all of them from solid additions to garbage level disappointments. And, as I say in every one of these videos, facts are facts, opinions are opinions, but my opinions are the facts. The main selling point of this update, the Pale Garden, and I think overall, yeah, it's pretty good. Now, at first glance, it kind of does look like the Dark Oak Forest just slipped his notes over to the Pale Garden for the design, but while they are pretty similar biomes, they're actually pretty distinct in many ways. First off, it is a sub-biome from the Dark Oak Forest, so it has to be at least somewhat similar to it in some cases. But even with that, it's still actually very, very different on its own. One difference being the atmosphere. Wait, what? Take a look at this beautiful blue sky we can see right here. It's such an amazing sight to behold until we go right into the Pale Gardens where we see the entire sky has seen better days. Yeah, there's biomes that kind of do things like this, but not to this extent. I mean, dude, if you can't tell what biome you're in just by the sky, then I don't know what would. Another big difference outside of all the blocks and stuff is actually the size of this biome. There are some people out there who do have problems with the size of this one biome, but I'm not actually one of them. These biomes are pretty similar in size to say like how Cherry Grove size biomes are, where they're not huge, but when you see them, you really notice them. I mean, even just a small 2-tree one, it's pretty hard to miss something like this. This biome and the Cherry Grove are the definitions of size doesn't matter when it comes to biomes. The only thing I wish was inside these biomes was maybe like a structure of some sort. I mean, even if it was just like a desaturated woodland mansion would fit or something like that, but even without this structure, it's still a pretty good biome. It could have been better, but overall, I still think it's a pretty solid biome. Red wood, orange wood, pink wood, yellow wood, cyan wood, purple wood, brown wood, white wood. Again, because it is a variant of the Dark Oak Forest, we are seeing like pretty similar trees, but overall, again, it's distinct enough to make its own thing. It does really fit in the theme of the spooky, toneless gray biome, and so does all the pale wood you can actually make from it too. Most of this is just pretty much a retexture from like any other existing wood type, though I do think the white bolts look amazing. For me, the door gives off a sort of medieval vibe, whereas the trapdoor kind of gives off a suburban vibe, or maybe medieval, or maybe suburban, or maybe a bit of both. Either way, both their textures are pretty nice. Similar to the pale oak sapling, I mean, look at that thing. That just screams spooky, doesn't it? And the leaves, well, the leaves look like they're one day off from being, dead. But I do like the leaf particles you do get from the leaf blocks. Like, it really just gives off the vibe of, I guess, fall or something like that. And I'm liking how we're getting very different types of tones of wood colors to really give you many options as to how you could build with things and things like that. I mean, this wood type alone could really work well with like concrete or like quartz or something like that. I mean, the possibilities for this is literally going to be endless now. So I think in general, this is my opinion on the wood set. Pretty open possibilities with a lot of it, some pretty interesting designs here and there, even though they are just retextured, and some stuff I could maybe see using at some point in the future, but not something I'd be relying on. But speaking of things other things need to rely on, have you ever wanted to be stalked by a creature that very easily blends into the background? Well, now you can. The creaking is a really interesting way as to how to add in a brand new hostile mob, and a brand new way as to how to defeat this hostile mob, with yet again another unique thing you could find inside these one trees, because the creaking heart is very, very cool. When having 2 pale logs on top of it and below it, you actually manage to spawn in the creaking itself, which makes a lot of sense considering this is pretty much in the core of all these trees, and considering that the creaking is, tree mob. I promise I was going somewhere with that, I swear. It's kind of like a reverse Enderman, where you kind of have to watch it, and I really like that aspect. I really like that aspect of these things. Because so long as you're looking at it, you are a-okay. You're completely safe. But the second I turn my head, it will go for me. And it's really like a reverse Enderman, because even if you were a pumpkin, that counts as you not looking at this thing. So there's a lot of thought coming inside this one mob. A lot of thought. And outside the creaking heart mainly being like the spawning mechanism for the creaking, it is actually a pretty interesting block. I don't know how you'd use it, but there should be and there can be ways in using it. And I think overall I'm pretty happy at putting these two right here. Not only because they're pretty interesting things on their own, but also because of what you can actually get from them. Is it just me, or do these things look absolutely delicious? Like, you give me a full bowl of resin and that'd probably make my day. And I just love the method as to how to get it, because you can't harm this thing. You can't harm the creaking in any normal way. But as you try tickling this guy to death, you're spreading resin all around the creaking heart. Resin clumps that could go on literally any single surface. I mean, just look at what you do with these things with, say, like, decoration or something like that. Like, this is amazing. This is awesome. And even getting some resin ingots aren't too hard, because after melting down some clumps, you actually get yourself some ingots. Or, resin bricks, if you want to call them that. Totally not confusing with the other resin bricks in the game. And speaking of which, I just love the possibility we could have with all these blocks. I mean, yeah, we've had orange blocks before, but we really don't have them in, like, too big a quantity. So seeing new orangey blocks is such a welcome addition. Also, it's finally nice that we're getting more stairs, slabs, and even walls that aren't gray or dark gray or anything like that. The block resin kind of looks like what rock copper would look like before it gets molded. The resin bricks look like something I'd imagine the characters from The Wizard of Oz would walk down. And the chiseled resin, it kind of looks... Oh wait, that's a creaking face. I only just realized that. So I think in general, this is what I think of the resin. Clumps are just so good that it just adds so many possibilities for decoration, and it leads to getting all the other different types of resin blocks. The main block of resin and the resin bricks are fantastic. Walls, stairs, and slabs also are pretty good. And the ingot, apart from it being used to craft other different types of resin, doesn't really have much of a use. And speaking of things that don't have much of a use, it's moss, but get this, it's pale. Yeah, it really does add to, like, the ambience, and it really does, like, distinguish itself from, like, dark oak forest with having this on the ground. But other than that, it's pretty much just moss. It can get composted the same way as moss. It can make carpets just like moss. The one big difference from normal moss and this moss is the pale hanging moss, which fortunately the way you can craft it is by... Actually, you can't craft it. The only way to get pale hanging moss is by using shears or silk touch on them on these pale oak trees. And you're never gonna guess what these things do. Nothing. Again, apart from some decoration, apart from, like, composting them and things like that, they really don't have much of a use. And I don't really hate them. I get why they're in the game, but if something had to be in a lower tier, I guess it'd have to be all these new boss blocks. I think of all the flowers we have inside the game, the Eyeblossoms might actually be my favorite. Not just because of their design, not just because of more uniqueness to the Pill Garden, but also because I believe this is the first ever plant we have that actually communicates with each other. Because during the day you can only get the closed Eyeblossom, and during night you can only get the open one. So say if we set it to midnight right now, then we're going to see every single one of these communicates with each other, turning them all into open ones. We saw it start from the left side and gradually spread all the way across to every single one of these. And the same thing will happen when we actually switch it today, because now we're going to see some telling others right next to each other, going right back into the closed state. And that's such a cool thing. That is such a cool and unique thing we've never seen from any, like, flowers or, like, plant-related anything inside of Minecraft. The only other ways I see plants communicating with each other is, I guess, by making 2x2 trees or something like that, but other than that, this is the most unique type of flower we have seen, like, ever inside the game. Also, depending on what Eyeblossom you actually have will determine what type of dye you actually get. So, closed one will get you gray, and open will get you orange. From essentially one plant, you can get 2 different types of dyes. I know that sounds like a small thing, but for me, that is still a small thing. But it's still cool that it's a thing. And even though I'm praising them a lot, I'll be honest, I still don't know how often I would use these. To be honest, I'm not that much of a flower guy, but if I had to choose, I'd probably put them, like, right in between C and B, but just for fairness, I'm just gonna put them in the upper ends of C. And wait, how did I miss the 2 pill signs? But I think for the most part, unless I missed something, which, let's be honest, it's very possible I did, this is my overall feelings of the update. Nothing completely garbage, but overall, fairly decent, Is this my favorite update of all time? No. Do I wish this update was a lot bigger? Absolutely. But for what it is, it's a solid 7.8 out of 10, would creak again.